One of the biggest challenges for me has always been reading. Imagine someone hands you a document and says, "Can you read this and tell me what you think?" To them, it's a simple request. But while they're already expecting an answer, you're still trying to get through the first line. What many people don't realize is that the pressure of someone waiting for an answer can actually make it even harder. The moment I know someone is standing there expecting me to read something quickly, my brain seems to speed up and slow down at the same time. I'm trying to read, process the information, work out what it means, and think of a response, all while knowing they're waiting. For me, it's often far easier if someone lets me take the information away, read it in my own time, process it properly, and then come back to them with an answer. I'll usually give a much better response because I've had time to absorb what I've read rather than feeling rushed. Sometimes I find myself skipping ahead without even meaning to. I'll see a word further down the page and somehow my brain decides to pull it forward and place it somewhere else entirely. Other times I'll miss words altogether and not even realize I've done it. Occasionally I'll read a word that isn't even there. That sounds strange if you've never experienced it, but it's almost like your brain is trying to predict what should be on the page, rather than simply reading what's actually there. Most of the time, you don't even realize it's happened until something doesn't make sense, and you have to go back and read it again. It's almost as if my eyes and brain are working at different speeds. My eyes might be looking at one part of the page while my brain is already processing another part. Sometimes that means I can get the general idea of what something says quite quickly, but the detail can be much harder because my brain is trying to jump ahead before it's fully processed what's already in front of me. That's one of the reasons reading can be mentally exhausting. It's not necessarily that I can't read, it's that my brain is working much harder to do something that seems automatic for other people. Something else that can be particularly difficult is being asked to read out loud in front of other people. Whether it's a classroom, a meeting, a training session, or even just a small group of people, suddenly having a document put in front of you and being asked to read while everyone watches can feel incredibly stressful. It's not just the reading itself, you're trying to read the words, make sense of them, stop yourself skipping ahead, avoid mixing things up, and at the same time you're aware that everyone is listening. The more pressure you feel, the harder it can become. I think a lot of people do this without meaning any harm. They simply don't realize that putting someone on the spot can make the task much more difficult than it needs to be. A little patience and a little understanding can make a huge difference. People often assume you're not paying attention, not concentrating, or not making enough effort, but that's not what's happening at all. In fact, quite often, you're concentrating harder than everyone else in the room. Your brain is simply processing information differently. Over the years, I've become much better at managing it. I've learned to slow down when I need to, reread important information, and recognize when my brain has decided to fill in the blanks by itself. But even now, there are still moments where I'll finish reading something and realize I've somehow read what I expected to see rather than what was actually written. I think that's one of the most difficult things to explain to someone who isn't dyslexic. It's not that the words aren't there, it's that sometimes your brain decides to take a slightly different route through them.